Now, the third one is shift in perspective or shift perspective. So it says that the indirect speech allows writers to shift the focus from the speaker to the content of the message, providing the insight into the character's thought, beliefs, and intentions. John told her that he loved her. Now, see, it definitely targets the content or the content of the message instead of talking the main speaker or highlighting the main speaker. It's actually rather interested into what the speaker has said instead of focusing on the speaker itself. Now, these are some advanced points, not exactly advanced, but something different than we are actually doing in our classrooms, right? So just to give you a real world example over here. So I'm just zooming out it for you that you guys can see it properly and might be interested to take a screenshot or maybe read it for later. All right, wonderful. So if you're done, so we have some more examples over here. So here are some more examples of direct and indirect speech. So it says over here, direct speech, a couple of examples for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to read all of them for you. I'm just going to pause it here, and you might just want to take a screenshot and, read it out, make your own sentences and other stuff. Right. So now I'm going to move to the other document. So these are all the, numerous applications, writing, storytelling, and communication. So it could be used in fiction writing, journalism. This is the example that I keep on quoting in the classrooms because I believe that this is something very popular and something really easy for students to understand because this is something that they listen on regular basis. It's very easy to develop that familiarity to make students more, familiar with this particular topic over here. So academic writing, it's also used in academic writing, speech writing, language learning, effective communication, creating creative workshops, legal writings, and the list goes on and on. So let's read one by one. So fiction writing says over here that in novels, short stories, and script, and in script, writers use direct speech to bring the characters to life, convey emotions, and develop dialogue-rich senses. Indirect speech is employed to summarize conversations, provide context, and maintaining. So in some cases, what happens that if you watch a movie, and usually some people narrate or keep on explaining the things, right, or keep on explaining the movie to other people. So that is the part of the indirect speech, whereas the direct speech involves the main dialogues of the characters and the words or the sentences, the phrases that they are uttering. Okay, now. Journalism, my God, my favorite. Now, this is my personal favorite, to be honest with you. So journalists use direct speech to quote interviews, speeches, or statements accurately, maintaining the integrity of the sources of the words. Indirect speech is used to summarize or paraphrase longer quotations, providing clarity and conciseness in the news articles. Now, when you talk about the news articles, okay, so a situation is a little bit different in the news articles. So, this is a kind of example that I keep on quoting in the classrooms that when you see the opinion part of the Dawn newspaper or any newspaper, if you go to the opinion section where the different kind of, writers are writing their own personal opinion, so they definitely are talking in the indirect speech when they are quoting the examples of the other people, or maybe paraphrasing or summarizing that what the other people have said, or what are the possible solutions given by certain people, right? Or maybe in some cases they also do or write or take the help of the direct speech narrative as well. Now, usually it's done in interviews, in the real-time interviews or in the real-time scenarios. Once you watch a news channel, you'll understand what I want to say over here. I'm not using the direct examples because this is something I have already discussed in very detail in our classrooms. Now, academic writing. In academic papers, research use direct speech to quote primary resources, expert opinions, and participants' responses in studies, whereas the indirect speech utilizes the paraphrase sources, summarizing findings, and integrate evidence into argument. Now, of course, this is a little bit advanced for you people. I presume that 7th graders are the people who are actually watching my video because this is actually made for them. But in the academic writing, when you talk about the research papers, so yeah, things are a little bit, let's say, tricky over there. So, in a research paper, in the very beginning part of the research paper, the very first, you find you don't find summary, but you find abstract. So abstract is actually tells you about that what you're going to be reading about and what are the things. But in the end of the research paper is usually conclusion or summary. Usually it's conclusion given over there, which actually summarizes that whatever were the findings. Now it really depends on the research paper, whether that research paper was a review paper, or maybe that was a document which is created from scratch, or it's a review paper, like, reviewing a couple of papers and then, writing a review paper out of the other papers while going through them. So this is a little bit, advanced for you people. And then we have speech writing. I'm just gonna give it a pause that you guys can read it yourself. I'm going to get to the main thing, which is actually the grammar part of this writing. For instance, converting from one form to another form. That's going to be our go-to. So we have effective communication, creative writing workshops, legal writings. So these are a little bit, advanced scenarios for us. Now, when changing from direct speech to indirect speech, there are certain grammar rules that we need to use. And now these are the grammar rules which I personally think are going to be important for you to understand for the exam's perspective and for the exam's point of view. So now, changing from direct to indirect. Now, here are a couple of things that we might need to, keep in consideration. For example, let's talk about the reporting verbs, right? Introduce the reported speech what is happening over here, changing from direct to indirect. So the first point that we need to keep in mind is the reporting verbs. So let's read it out together. So introduce the reported speech with an appropriate reporting verb such as said, told, asked, etc. Adjust the reporting verb to reflect the tense and the context of the reporting sentence. Now, I have some examples related to that, and we will discuss that in further. Pronouns and verb changes. Of course, the pronouns will change, the verbs might change. So change pronouns and verbs reflect the perspective and tense of the reporting sentence. Pronouns and possessive adjectives change according to the subject of the reporting sentence. Now, it's a little bit tricky over here. I can totally understand, but we will definitely talk about with examples, and they are going to come in the text further in the same document. So now it says over here, the pronouns and possessive adjectives change according to the subject of the reporting sentence. Verbs usually change according to the sequence of the tenses. As the tense changes, the verb will change. For example, present simple in direct speech becomes past simple in indirect speech. Present continuous becomes past continuous. And present perfect becomes past perfect. The present simple remains past simple. Past simple remains past simple, and the future tenses change to their corresponding past forms. Now tense changes. Now shift the tense of the reported speech to match the tense of the reporting sentence. Backshift the tense. Change the past tense in the most cases, especially when the reporting verb is the past tense. Now, I totally understand it might be a little bit difficult for you to, swallow this or digest this or, understand this. But don't worry, I'll be giving you examples at how it is working at the back end. Now, time and place expressions. Okay, let's see what happens over there. Adjust the time and the place expressions to match the context of the reporting sentence. Words like today, yesterday, tomorrow, here, there, etc. may need to be changed accordingly.